Testing. All right. I think we're coming through.
Yep, we're here.
All right, we're going to give it a few moments for people to hop on, but we're just getting our sound stuff ready, and just give us a moment.
Yeah, we're thankful that our kids are quiet for the moment.
Yeah, we're just going to wait for a few more people to hop on, and then we'll get rolling. There you go, Eden, number one. All right. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, it's actually gear that I bought for a podcast that I'm hoping to do for leaders a little bit later. And so I brought it home to make some of this stuff work a little better.
Yay for technology.
Yeah. All right, so here's kind of what we're going to do as people are hopping on. We're going to, actually, I'm going to give Tabitha a chance to share a little bit of her story and kind of how it connects with me. You guys have spent quite a bit of time hearing from me and hearing my story. And so I want to make sure that we can give her a chance to kind of get us caught up on how she got here. And then we'll kind of talk a little bit about how our paths came together. And we'll start that in just a minute. I'm still making sure we've got all of our sound stuff taken care of. But then what we'll be able to do is you can ask us any questions. I'll be trying to keep track of questions that come in the chat. And then we can kind of walk through some of those questions and have a little bit of a fun night. I hope this is a blessing for all of you guys. So just give me a few more seconds. I'm just getting a couple things figured out. All right. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right, so I will be watching the chat. If for some reason, I know last time we had some issues with like an echo or even some like just weird sound stuff. So if you see some of that, feel free to pop that in the chat for me. I'll be trying to monitor that. But yeah. So this is my wife, Tabitha, if you guys haven't met her. She is the one who works behind the scenes to make sure I can do ministry in a lot of different unique ways. So we thought it'd be sweet to give her some time to chat with you guys and to share a little bit of her story, and then even talk a little bit about our process to come into Crossway together and kind of what were her thoughts and feelings, and then maybe a little bit about how we've experienced it since we've gotten here. So you can ask us any questions you would like. We'll kind of get to those probably after we share for just a little bit together. And yeah, I hope it's sweet for you guys and helpful for you guys, and hope this helps you get to know her a little bit more. So it's your turn.
Here I go. I always have to give a disclaimer. He's the guy that is in public ministry. I'm the one behind the scenes. So I'm more comfortable behind the camera than in front of it. But here we go. So I will just go ahead and start with some basic, like where I came from. People ask that usually one of the first questions. So I was born in California, Northern California, and but I only lived there for 3 years until we moved to Colorado, and I was in elementary school there till about 5th grade when my parents decided to go overseas to be missionaries at a school for missionary kids. So my mom and dad both worked on staff and faculty at this school called Black Forest Academy. And I was a student there and started 5th grade in Germany. So whole new culture, big adventure, but also sad and scary. And, you know, I'll fast forward a little bit because it's not that exciting, like before Ryan. So fast forward to my sophomore year of high school. I think this is a fun story because I didn't feel very welcomed when I was a new student at Black Forest Academy. So when I was a sophomore in high school, this was kind of when most students started coming to this school, especially from like other countries where their parents were putting them in the dorms. Golly,
Yeah.
please pardon my lack of words sometimes. But so I wanted to make sure to welcome all the students. Very friendly, very warmly. I like looked at pictures of students in the, their applications. I worked in the front office that summer, so I knew there were like a bunch of guys and girls, but guys coming to our class. And I was excited about that, as most girls would be. And so, day one comes, there's like big assembly. Some students are given opportunities to stand up and share something about their summer. And I noticed Ryan popped up and said he had an awesome summer like conference where lots of students, he was just excited about Jesus. He was just like a real smiley guy, loved Jesus. And so I was like, he seems real safe, nice. I'll go introduce myself to him. So after that, I was like, hey, I'm Tabitha. And anyway, so it was just a friendly exchange, and I moved on and was like, okay, he's the safe guy, like not the guy that I'm like, those guys over there are kind of like, woo, I'm got a crush on, but he was kind of the safe guy. So that's always a funny side to the story, because then on his side of the story, I don't know if you want to share this part or should I just say it?
Go ahead.
He says he was like love at first sight. Or whatever, high school love at first sight. But he definitely went home to his dorm and started talking about me with his roommate. And
It's true.
So our relationship didn't start off like at the same pace. And it never really stayed at the same pace, which is why
That's
we would
probably true.
describe our high school dating relationship as a little turbulent. It was on and off, mostly my initiation off. But even I initiated like okay, never mind, I do like you, let's get back together again.
Yeah.
But that happened through the last...
It's like High School Musical before High School Musical came out.
Yes.
I mean, that's the best
If
way I
you
can
have seen
describe
High
it.
School Musical, that is basically a great caricature of our personalities and our relationship. So on and off dating through high school, through even the first year of college. But I would say we, were like deepening in our friendship as we deepened in maturity, which helped a lot. Every time we'd get back together again, it was like, this is like, level 2, level 3. This is a little deeper. And I always sensed like there was like a God factor in there somehow, where it was like, this doesn't necessarily make sense, but like God is calling me to care for this man that I don't necessarily, he doesn't always line up in my head. Like you have these visions and dreams. I was like, no, but God really wants me to love this guy. I have a love for him. That's not logical.
Yeah, keep going.
But
You're
anyway,
good.
and he was just so faithful in spite of all my flaws in high school. So that's one thing that I very much track up to. His winning of my heart was just faithful through persecution from me, persecution probably even from his friends who said, forget her, she's lame. But so we finally got things sorted after our first semester of college. Halfway through our second semester of college, we were like, okay, if we're going to do this whole dating thing, it really needs to just be marriage soon. We were at separate colleges at the time. And so when we decided, like, we're getting back together again.
Remember, we're just telling our story, not necessarily advocating a path right now, just so you know.
Yes, God works through a lot of mistakes. But yeah, so we got back together again, and we said, okay, like, this is for marriage, and marriage soon. So I decided... I felt God calling me away from kind of where I had started heading at Taylor University towards planting in his community with his church, going to a secular university, which is what he had decided to do, and continuing in a degree in communication studies, which he happened to switch to. Probably, was it before I transferred?
It was before. It was after my first semester.
Yeah, but we both were like, communication studies. So I transferred. We actually got married after our sophomore year of college.
Yep.
And I know in that, I wanted to mention too, just that like, there was this God leading, God calling me, and recognizing, so my parents had been in ministry, even youth ministry when we were stateside. And, I was fully open to this young man's dream of being in youth ministry. He had that from day one. From the moment I knew him, he had mentioned, he was like, I really want to be a youth pastor. I feel called to be a youth pastor, or, in ministry, pastoring. And so when I decided like, okay, I want to be in a lifelong relationship with him, I was like, I'm all for being his, right hand support, follow that calling. And that's just, it was such a cool feeling, very freeing. And so we got married. He wasn't a youth pastor yet. Worked at the Marriott. Then we graduated, pregnant. Well, he graduated after the baby came out. I graduated pregnant and had our first baby. And he started at, starting the corporate of fidelity, which was not his plan, but it was God's, laying that in his lap, a really good opportunity for a growing family. And so he pursued it and did well. And I mean, I think it's cool to see how like God blessed that work. And then when that work was looking so good and moving on and moving up, God put it in his lap to be in youth ministry. And we were both so excited. It was like, what? Why? After you took this crazy hard exam that you studied months and months for, are they offering you to do this? But we went with it. It didn't, it kind of defies worldly paths. But it was, once again, another like really cool, like affirmation of God's calling in our lives. And I remember especially starting that journey, sort of being friends with the previous youth pastor at our church and his wife, just really letting me know that this, for me, as the wife of a youth pastor, is a ministry of sending and letting go. And I absorbed that, and I love that she said that, because I think that has helped me and probably saved me a lot of heartache, honestly, just to realize that, like, my ministry is to, continue to develop our home, be home, continue to work around all those details of being home so that he can go and he can do the ministry. And it's just been really cool too over the years to see how ministry comes home to us, and so we can do ministry together. When we would have like youth leader brunches and meetings at our house once a month, and we would do like a senior night at the beginning of the year, and so I'd get to know a small variety of students in more intimate settings. But I rarely was ever there like Sunday night. I would come with the kids maybe on like a fun night or something where it wasn't like high stress. And I'm okay with, like, I'm really thankful for that opportunity to be able to let him really thrive in this ministry that God's called him to. And I really enjoy being home. I really do. It's a blessing. And now we have 6 kids.
That's right. Yeah.
And we're here, which...
So one of the things I thought would be kind of fun, guys, was if we you've heard me talk a little bit about like when I got the first call from Crossway and how I processed through that and how I worked through that. But I thought it would be a little bit fun to hear kind of how she processed through that. So babe, what was the first response? I get that first call, I think it was like the last day of July, and we started talking about it. Like, what was your first response? And then let's kind of talk through how maybe your heart changed a little bit.
Yeah. So my first response was, nice, honey. I really hope this doesn't work out, because I really like our church and my community and my little homeschool co-op and our kids' friends and our house and our fort in the backyard, all the things. I really felt like we were like home. This is great. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I always want to be willing to go wherever God has us. And I know that's always been, having had sort of like that missionary background, there's this, always wanting to be open to where God would call you, no matter how uncomfortable and inconvenient. Yeah. But, there was that part of me that's like, oh, but I really want to stay here because this is comfortable. So that's what my initial response was. But then, as calls came in and he was having more conversations, and, he describes this whole, like, he had all these obstacles in his mind about why this wouldn't work, and they kept getting knocked down and knocked down and knocked down. And I could just see, like, this is becoming a real possibility. Yeah. And I think at the same time, like, God was softening my heart too. And I was recognizing that, like, if this is really an exciting opportunity for him, I had already kind of had a little bit of that itch, like, this would be a really perfect time to have a transition with where our kids are at and where I'm at. We've been here for, like, it was 13 years of marriage, like almost 13 years.
Yeah. I've been there for almost 15 years.
You had been there 15 years. I had moved there, so it was like 13 years. We'd had all our kids there. But none of them had really, like, dug really deep into super deep friendships, I guess, because our oldest is now 10. And I just felt like I was 9 when I moved overseas. And that was a really good time for me to move and sort of uproot and start new relationships. And so I think there's part of me that was starting to see, like, this is a really cool opportunity. And I think that I could see it being really good.
Was there like a moment, maybe like a specific, oops, sorry, I just kicked the camera. Was there a specific moment where maybe your heart turned more towards, I think I'm ready to go there? Like, I mean, as far as like a specific situation or interaction where you're like, I think this does make sense.
I think the biggest like boom was when we came for the interview weekend.
Okay.
I mean, up until that point, it was all just like what he said about conversations that I really didn't know a whole lot about, you know. And he's an internal processor, so there was a lot of thoughts going on in his head, and he would share like highlights, you know, sort of the highlight reel, and which was great, but it was also kind of like, okay, like you know, sort of like show me the money. Like I need to see what really is there. And so when we got to come up in September for an interview and meet people, I think that's when I started feeling like, oh my gosh, I could totally see us here. These people are so humble and welcoming and warm and genuine. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated being in all the interviews. I felt like I actually knew more about Crossway than I did about Grace Fellowship, because I'd sort of just been adopted into the Grace Fellowship like routine, and then he'd already been there. So his interview process was much different than here, where it's like kind of cold turkey, like gotta get to know this guy and everything, and we got to get to know you and everything. And so I got to go along for the ride, which was really cool to see that. And then I think it did really just like, yeah, I could see us being here. So that was it.
So now we're here, and we're glad to be here. We realized that was kind of a fly through of our story a little bit, and a little bit of Tabitha's story particularly. But we'd love to know if there are questions you guys have, you want to ask us, or even just ask her. I mean, I'm happy to just read the comments and have her answer questions if you'd like to know more about her or about ministry, what ministry looks like for us, or even marriage or dating or kind of anything like that. We're happy to answer some questions and see how this would be a helpful time with you guys. So yeah, do you guys have any questions for us? I'm going to be looking at the chat here. I've been reading through all the chat. You guys are cracking me up, by the way. But thanks for some of the encouragement. And, okay, Tabitha, favorite food?
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate. If you ever want to bless my wife, what percentage, though?
I think 80 and under.
Okay.
Like between 70 and 80 is the perfect sweet spot.
Yeah, but you wouldn't turn away like a bag of semi-sweet chocolate chips either.
No, not at all. That's basically what I live off of because they're cheaper, and we got a big bag at Costco when this whole thing went down. I was like, honey, they may not have toilet paper, but please get me chocolate. So
yep. Another question. Are we more alike or different personality-wise?
That's actually a complicated
It's a really fascinating question actually.
Well, personality-wise, it depends on the personality test.
That's true. We
are the same Enneagram.
Yep.
But very different Myers-Briggs. So if
right.
you're into those.
So in some ways we're a lot alike, and then in lots of ways we're very different.
Yeah, I think probably the differences shine forth more than the similarities. But then I think in parenting we're similar.
That's probably true.
And so that's where, yeah, we see some of our similar strengths and weaknesses as parents. Yeah.
Favorite memory together?
I'm
going to keep looking at the chat. You get to answer these.
Favorite memory together. There's just a lot of good ones, and my memory can fail me sometimes. That's why I take a lot of pictures. I hope that helps me remember things.
Lily, we're a 1 in the Enneagram.
Yeah. I don't know. I think right now, the more we walk through life together, I feel like memories get sweeter and sweeter. And so, I mean, it was super awesome going on this sabbatical trip and doing Disney together with our kids.
She may or may not have started crying the moment we walked into the park.
Me and my mom were like, which is not me. I do not cry. I'm not a crier. But there are certain points in life which will definitely stimulate tears coming out of my eyes. And I usually am trying to analyze why in the world they're coming out of my eyes at that moment. But yeah, that was emotional because of just childhood memories, and then bringing it in, clashing to my children and my husband who had never been to Disneyland. So we
have a couple of questions about personality test stuff. So Evan, I don't actually know what DISC is. I'm sorry. You can.
I've heard the name. I never took the test. Sorry.
Yeah, but if you want us to do that at some point in time, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So we're both an Enneagram 1, and then somebody else what our Myers-Briggs was. You are a...
Here's something interesting. I'm an INTJ, which is like one of the smallest populations in the whole world.
Yeah.
And in the female form of it is like less than 2%.
What was one of the things it said about you when it came to marriage?
Oh, yeah. And in the description, it says, you are the hardest personality to be married to. So this man has endured very much by being married to me.
I just was I laughed so hard when I remember that. Let's see here. What else? Oh, and I'm an ENFP, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So almost exactly opposite except the N.
Colin, you asked, was I always like this? I think you said bold. Or did I have a different cut? I'm not sure what you mean by cut.
I think if I were to describe how Ryan has changed, because I've seen him since high school, he has always been bubbly, always been smiley, always been forward. But I think he's gotten a little more serious. But I also don't see him in youth context as much. So when I see him in youth context, he's kind of back to what I remember him in high school.
Okay.
At home, he kind of has his withdrawal moments of just more serious. And he's in a parental authoritative role where there's just a lot, to take in and to monitor. So, but yeah, he's pretty much always been Mr. Smiles.
So we got a question about best dating advice.
That's a sticky subject.
It is a sticky subject, especially when you're talking with high school kids.
I know, do you want to like us or hate us? Well, I mean, Ryan, I don't know. I guess I can answer this one, but I think what we would say is God definitely can use all different circumstances, but we recommend not dating in high school. I think if we were to rewrite our story, which we can't do, we think that it could have been less painful, less turbulent, and maybe had more like deep friendships with other people as well if we had just worked on a good friendship through high school.
Yeah.
And then leading up to dating at the end and marriage. I mean, really, I think our last breakup and then get back together again was when we really were seeing a little more clearly, had a better grasp of like who we were, what direction we were going. And I think when I look back over high school, I think I missed a lot of opportunities to have good girl friendships because of the energy and time I spent towards him. And I mean, academics, I was kind of a worship the A kind of person. And so, dating him and then all the activities that I did a number to some of the girl friendships that I had. And
yeah. I mean, so that would be kind of one of our, when we we'll always talk with people who are working through dating stuff and want to talk about what it looks like to honor the Lord in this, particularly in high school. I think our preference or the best counsel we can give is probably high school dating is not the best way to do dating, honestly, because you're not ready to take a next step towards marriage, really. But all that being said, I think the single best advice when it comes to those kinds of relationships is ladies, you focus 100% on becoming the most godly young woman that you can be. And guys, you focus 100% on becoming the most godly man you can be. And that's just the best thing you can do. And so, guys, what that often means is developing a love for his word and a love for God and a love for friendship and ladies, a lot of the same things. And I think if you focus on those kinds of things, then God just seems to kind of take care of the other things at the right time and in the right ways. So, all right. Sorry, I got to look back over here. Recommended books.
What?
There was no genre. So just get couple favorite books. Your favorite fiction series. We know what that is.
Yeah, my favorite fiction series is the Madeleine L'Engle Wrinkle in Time series. I'm a homeschool mom, so I am like very immersed in some really good homeschool mom books. So I just read Teaching from Rest, and I felt like that was like water and life to my spirit, by Sarah Mackenzie. But I also think, there's been some like really good ones. Because He Loves Me by Elise Fitzpatrick. That was a really good gospel applied to my life. But once again, it might be more like mom, adult, wife context. I don't know. There's a lot of good books, favorite books. But
yeah, that's good. That's good. Sorry, getting a lot of good questions here. How often does someone say to Annabelle, "You look just like your mom"?
Sometimes.
It's not regular, though.
No, it's not. I think she, if you look at pictures of me when I was a kid, sometimes she looks like me. Sometimes she looks more like maybe like someone on Ryan's side of the family, like his. I don't know. She's a good blend.
But today, right now, she has a big purple bruise right here because she decided to like suck on a toy until she like burst a bunch of blood vessels. So we've been calling her blueberry lips for the last few days.
Wait, did you eat more blueberries.
And it's
in
been
it.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What else? Yeah, Phoebe, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, because your question was, do you have advice on when you should focus more on yourself than others? Normally, I'd probably ask a few more questions to understand that question a little bit more. I think the beauty about being a Christian is you are called to focus on other people, but that's not to neglect your own self and relationship with Jesus. And so there is a balance of those kinds of things. But I do think there seems to be a leaning towards laying your life down for others. And so I think there's things you need to be doing regularly in your own life to make sure you're doing well and you're caring for your own body and your own spirit. But there seems to be a focus on laying our lives down for one another, which is really hard. And I want to continue to do that better. Let's see here. Maddie, good question. You mentioned you guys were going to sing a duet. That is something we've been practicing. I'm hoping in the next week we can get that recorded. Try not to be too perfectionistic about it, but it'll be fun. We've been enjoying messing around in the evenings and playing. But do we like music, instruments, singing, and stuff like that? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think we really love music. I think we don't pull out instruments that much.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is like, I know I'm not like super great on any particular instrument, and Ryan, you're good on the guitar, but like we're just kind of okay. We love listening to really good music, so we're like music appreciators.
We put a lot of like music
Variety.
on the speaker, and like we'll have a lot of dance parties with our kids, whether it's with musical stuff or even worship or some of our favorite music. And so we love music. It looks a little bit different. So. Let's see here. Keep it going. Tabitha, what's your favorite Bible verse?
That's a hard one.
Sure. What's one that comes to mind, though?
Well, right now I think I gravitate towards verses about rest. So recently the whole "Come all who are weary."
Yeah.
And I will give you rest. Because I feel the need for rest every day. And I know that my rest is not promised through perfect sleep or peaceful, quiet days. And so I just have to keep holding on to the truth that Christ is my rest.
Yeah. That's good. I got a few follow-up questions. Are we planning on doing multiple covers? We weren't really planning on doing loads, but I think we'll have to see how long we're stuck at home. I think that's the real question.
Well, and I'm the silly one who likes to write like parody lyrics. So I already started writing parody lyrics to some of our one of our high school musical songs.
Yeah. Why'd you call it ours?
So, because I don't know why I did, but it is. It's ours. Because you said you would sing it with me.
Did I?
You did. You said you would sing that one with me.
Oh, man, I'm in trouble.
I said I could see myself singing that one with you.
Yeah.
So, you guys got it.
That's funny.
Film.
Tabitha, Gilbert asked you, what are some blessings and challenges of being married to someone in ministry?
That's a good question. Blessings. I don't know. I mean, I love sort of this automatic connection to doing ministry. I don't really feel like I have to look for ways to do ministry because it's right there built in. So whether it's, I'm doing ministry to my kids, that's my personal primary, like heavy time consuming ministry. But when it comes to like him ministering to students or to leaders, I get to kind of come along for the ride rather than me like, where should I like serve? Where should I serve? And so it's a blessing to be able to kind of come behind that and like be like wind in the sails or whatever, whatever my role is exactly, help sort of make that happen. And the struggles, I mean, I think the struggles can be obviously like the sending can be hard, especially when I feel like there's seasons that are really hard at home. So when kids are especially difficult and,
or like sickness is just like running rampant in our home.
And, anything that makes home life hard, I think when he's busy with ministry and gone a lot, or when, he's been gone on like a week-long trip for youth camp or a conference or even with seminary. So, I mean, I don't know if we mentioned he's doing seminary classes right now. And I think that actually kind of puts the pressure on in the sense of like our time together is much more shrunk because of every evening. It's like, oh, you got to study, right? So like we used to spend a lot of time watching a show at night or a movie once a week or something like together. But because of studies, like that just doesn't happen. And I just have to be okay with like not expecting that our time together is usually like sitting near each other doing our separate things. Like I'll plan homeschool or grade homeschool stuff and you do your seminary reading or lectures with the headphone.
And I think one of the things I've had to learn actually in doing ministry for a long time is really getting better just protecting my off day. So one particular day where I'm really trying to protect that, even to the point where I've actually, on my off day, I disable like even my social media accounts for 12 or 13 hours just to make sure I'm really trying to focus on my family and connecting with Tabitha and kind of being involved with our kiddos and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Tabitha, what's one thing that makes you really mad? I don't think it's about me necessarily.
I'll just admit, a lot of things can make me really mad. That's one of the unique struggles of someone who wants to like be in control of everything, and when nothing is really truly in my control. Broken things make me really mad. Messes, really big messes, unexpected messes make me really mad. Fighting kids hurting other kids, doing really foolish, dangerous things. There's a long list of things that can make me really mad. But like I think God has definitely helped me work through some of those. So like with messes, I just take a deep breath and like, okay, whoever that was that made it, you get to clean that up, and I'll just walk away or hand you the tools. But yeah, so.
Yeah, that's funny. Dream jobs. Let's do like dream jobs before. Yeah, because I'll even say like before, ministry for me. So what was your dream job?
I mean, before I was set to like marry him, I was in communication studies and I wanted to work at Disney Studios or at Disneyland or in some form Disney. At one point I'd wanted to be like a Disney princess, like, hi. But or whatever. But so at the very least, I wanted to be involved in Disney because I just love Disney so much. I know it has its flaws, but
sure. Yeah, and for me it would have just been easily just be a professional soccer player. So
can I say my now dream job though?
Sure.
I definitely think that since I've had the opportunity to like explore growing plants, I would totally work in some capacity as a botanist or like in a nursery garden place where I can help people find plants and help grow things and troubleshoot because I love plants. So that's keeping me sane right now in lockdown.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. The next question was from me. Eden asked me, in being an extroverted person who loves to be around people, what's the hardest thing about being in isolation and how am I coping with it? How would I suggest others do it? That's a hard question.
Are you really ever isolated when you have 6 kids?
It's a different, yes,
It is,
I
yeah.
feel very isolated.
Okay, you're right, it is.
Absolutely. That's a great question, Eden. I think I have my ups and downs. I think actually today was one of those downs. I actually had a phone call with Steve Miller where I was just confessing to him how I've just been struggling a little bit with, especially just feeling having just moved here, really trying to start to dig deep in some friendships and then feeling like that kind of has just stalled, whether that's friendships with some students or our staff team or even my leader team or all those things. And I feel like it's stalled a little bit and I don't get to be with them. So that's been hard. I think I felt a little bit like just low today with regards to that. And so it's been challenging. I think some of the things that I'm trying to do are have life-giving conversations with people that know me well and love me. So I think it's been having conversations with people here, but it's also been having a few conversations with people back home and in Kentucky where we came from, and just having some good conversations, especially not focusing on the woe, but focusing on what's going well, and even looking through good memories. And so we had a good phone call, actually FaceTime call with one of our former students the other night for like 2.5 hours. And it was just a sweet time of reconnecting, hearing what God's doing in her life, and kind of where she's going and all those things. And so just trying to have some life-giving conversations, whether it has to be through technology, but making time for those things. And then for me, it's also been making time for some fun things for me. So I'm still spending a lot of time working and then studying. And so just trying to make some time for the things that help me relax and kind of decompress and things like that. Yeah, I think those are some of the things that I'm doing. What would I encourage other people to do is to do some of those same things, figure out who those relationships are that really do give you life and get some FaceTime through the phone or through a computer with them. Don't just kind of complain, but talk about things that that you're thankful for. And I think it's one of the things we're really bad at is being thankful in times like this. So just really even doing practical kind of every day, writing a list of things you have to be thankful for. And I think that can help me fight kind of some of the temptations to be down or discouraged or feeling lonely. So yeah, that's kind of how I would answer that. Ephraim is asking, do you have a more logical or creative mind?
Me?
I think for you.
Logical or creative? What do you think?
I think you're logically creative.
I love it. That's probably very true.
You're both, I think. I think you have a very logical mind, but you like to think about creative things and yeah.
Sometimes I get too creative.
Sometimes.
Like,
very true.
Stick with what you got planned.
Very true.
I've been accused of never really
Very
sticking with
true.
the system because I'm never satisfied.
Very true. That's funny. Any surprising things about living in Wisconsin? It snowed today. That's surprising.
Well, it didn't really surprise me, but it's kind of annoyed me more than anything.
She had put out all her plants and realized she had basically done it about a month ahead of time.
Well, and, okay, to be fair, everyone sort of warned me, like, you don't plant things in this early in Wisconsin. I'm like, gosh darn it, I'm going to do it anyway. But then I moved it to my greenhouse, so it's all safe and sound. And I can still go in my greenhouse and enjoy them, so I'm glad about that.
Oh, Noah said he could see you being a Disney princess. That's really kind.
Thanks.
Let's see here. Ephraim asked if I'm his best friend. Ephraim, you are a great friend of mine.
I think I take first place right now. So.
Ooh, I've run out of questions. I think we've gotten through all the questions that people have. Eden, that's not encouraging to me that it snowed in mid-May last year. That does nothing to make me excited about being here. That's true. I mean, we don't hate snow. No. I think we're just ready for spring at this point in time. So it's not that we hate the snow. We like the snow, actually. Yeah. And our kids have loved the snow.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Do we celebrate Passover? That's a good question. We don't do like a Seder meal or anything. We talked about it tonight, and we talked about what the value of it is, but we don't do a Seder meal. We've been doing. Well, why don't you talk about what we've been doing kind of leading up to Passover or leading up to Easter, because I think that has a Passover element to it. Why don't you talk about that?
What we've done this
week. The eggs?
Oh, yeah. So we do the resurrection eggs, if any of you are familiar with that. It's just simple little tangible elements of the story leading up to, the resurrection. Now, I do it sort of the fast forward pace where we don't start it 12 days before. We start it like the week of, and I do like 2 eggs a day because I usually forget or it's just too spread out. So we do, and we have 6 kids that fight over whose eggs turned to open the eggs. So we do 2 a day, and the little guys don't fit in the eggs because I had to like scrounge up my items, but we have a paper that says it, and then we pull it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. All right. I think we're out of questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we finish up?
No, I mean, I could just talk about random
What have been
things.
some of your favorite things about moving to Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think I like new, so I think there's something exciting about starting fresh and kind of. I think I arrived with this like drive to like reach out and meet people and figure out who our community, like, that really closer community is going to be. And I really feel like God provided that through some families that are, like-minded, homeschooling, kids same age, like those sort of factors help me connect with people. And I've loved how it seems geographically a lot of the people I've met that are, in the similar stage of life live really close. So, I mean, I've got people that are half a mile away and people that are a few blocks away and people that are a 5-minute drive away. And I'm just like, it wasn't really like that in Kentucky. My closest friend was like 15 minutes away. And that seems so far here now. Like if it's 15 minutes away, it's kind of far.
Yeah. We've really enjoyed that. I think I've shared that a little bit. We've just enjoyed being close to a lot of normal things. Like I can jog to the gym. I jogged home from dropping my car off to get something fixed on it. We've just enjoyed some of the closest. I know lots of people live in a lot of different places here, but we've happened to be in a spot where we're pretty close. So that's been kind of fun.
And as much as I loved the hills in Kentucky, I am so thankful we live on a flat, quiet, wide street because now all my kids just can love biking. And I love biking, and I grew up biking a lot. And so now I feel like they're all just like taking off, and we do like this great around the block walk, which is like half a mile, and we do it like on repeat as many times as the kids will bike when I'm walking. Or we've got 2 kids on balance bikes, and sometimes they'll take turns who's actually biking and who's sitting in the stroller, and it's been super fun.
Maddie asked a specific question, like what's one thing that you think is superior here in Wisconsin?
Superior.
So like she put an example like superior cheese, or like, honestly, I'm just stoked about living near a lake. And like, I'm just super excited. You guys may not be that excited about Lake Michigan, but like, we're super stoked about being able to walk along the lake and and pets, the park.
Yes, there's a way better trail system, biking, walking, like outdoor life, which has always been one of my biggest complaints of Kentucky, is that they're in this beautiful countryside, but nobody wants to be active, or feels like it. And so all the roads are narrow with these ditches, so you can't even safely bike between neighborhoods. Whereas here, it's like sidewalks connect everything. And where sidewalks don't connect, there's wide shoulders. And then where there's no wide shoulders, there's like trails. So yes, trails and the beach. And
which of your kids are most like you both? So which, is there a kid that's most like you and most like me? I can't think of anyone. No. All of our kids are really unique. They have their own personality. They have different things about each of us. I really don't feel like it.
It's pretty cool how God does that.
Yeah.
Just like, puts a little bit of both.
Yeah, I really don't think we have one. Sorry. Favorite type of cheese?
For me?
I'm a Munster guy.
Medium cheddar.
Okay. We got a question. What's your favorite food, actually? They didn't consider chocolate a food.
Chocolate's not a food?
You can be offended.
Okay, well, when it comes to like meals, I'm going to just go ahead and put it under the heading of Asian food. Now, not all Asian food, but like stir fries, rice dishes that have meat and vegetables, not seafood. I'm really like a funny, picky person when it comes to vegetables and meats. But I do like exotic like flavors, so seasoning. So I even like a lot of there's some Moroccan recipes that I really like, which is not Asian. I know that, but it's still like the rice and like turmeric, and I don't know. I like good spices.
Yeah, that's great. Favorite Harry Potter book and favorite Harry Potter movie?
That's challenging.
Yeah.
I have only read them once, and it was like 3 years ago, and I read them really fast, so I'm not sure which.
She read them all in one summer. She cranked through them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the last one's great because it ties everything up. I like the closure and it's intense, but it has the biggest, and Don't
give any spoilers. Be careful.
I even like the movie that's at the end because that's honestly, I watched the movies before I read the books. And Ryan kept telling me, you are supposed to read the books first. And I was like, I'm never going to read the books. That's just too much time investment in something I'm not that interested in. But then once I got to the last movie and I saw how it ended, I thought, oh my gosh, I need to read these books.
Yep.
This has such a good plot, such a good ending, such a good tie-up. And so then I went back and read the books, and I greatly appreciated them because it did fill in all those details that I'd be like asking Ryan in the movie, what's happening? I don't get that. And he's like, you got to read the books. And I'm like, okay, someday when I have time.
Yeah, I have a lot of favorites. There's still something really sweet to me about the first book because it's really the introduction to the series. I like book 4 a lot. My favorite movie would probably be the final one. But I love the books. I was just telling Tabitha the other day, I think it's about time for another read through. But I think for me, that would be read through number 6 or 7. So yeah.
I don't reread books like ever, except I did reread the Wrinkle in Time series. So
Eden, if you make me that shirt, I'll totally wear it. She said I should get a shirt that says I'm the Munster guy. I'm a Munster guy, just like that. Takeout. If we were to do a takeout dinner, what would you choose?
A takeout dinner?
Yeah, that was a question.
Probably Thai food.
We want to try this little Asian Saigon Panda. Is that what it's called? Right over by us.
Yeah,
I've been there once. But we've talked about getting some food from there.
Asian.
Yeah, we make a lot of Asian foods, but we also enjoy eating a lot of different Asian foods.
Yeah.
So let's see here. I think That's it. Any more questions? Should we wrap it up, guys? It's always, once again, one of those awkward moments where it's like, we're still talking, but we can be done whenever. But if you guys want to ask me more questions, we're totally game. Yeah.
We actually ate at Madame Pho. That was the first meal we ate.
You're right.
On our interview
when
weekend.
we got flown in, Bill and I took us there.
Really
And I've eaten a couple times there with some other staff guys, but yeah, it was good. Totally. Asian Taste. It's amazing. Is that another restaurant? Sweet. Eden said, I don't want to leave. This is my people. That's funny. Well, if you don't want to leave, you need to ask us more questions.
Ask questions.
Yeah, I want to kind of echo some things Tabitha said a little bit earlier. I think, Tabitha, one of the things you've just done a really good job with in ministry is really working hard to be a good sender. I think in youth ministry, there's the challenge of like, it's not like a normal, not necessarily a normal ministry, not like a normal job where I could be out late for evenings. I could be, called at random times. Sometimes people call me in crisis and I've got to step away from the family. And so she just does a really good job of having the attitude of being a good sender. And that doesn't mean she's always like excited about it or always, perfect about it, but you've just done a good job of thinking through that from the beginning, which is honestly what makes me able to be with you guys and be with our team and minister in our church family well, is because I have a wife who's willing to say, go do it and support me in that. So it's really, really helpful. Okay. Do you jointly decorate or does Tabitha take the lead?
It's a joint effort. From day one,
we're both very opinionated.
Has an opinion. He helped decorate for our wedding. I mean, he was in the
But you also remember I worked at the Marriott and I had worked 100 weddings before we even got married. So
he has a developed eye for,
that's probably an exaggeration. Probably was 100.
Beauty, and he has this. We both have slightly different tastes, but I think it's sort of blended well in the sense of sort of this hybrid between like modern and I don't know what, old-fashioned, cozy. I like kind of the blend. I always love like wrought iron and black. But yeah, he helped hang up a lot of stuff. That's why it got done so quick.
Yeah, I had 1 week after Christmas before I started work at Crossway where we just I just knew the best thing we could do was to get as much of the house decorated, particularly on the main floor as possible, so that when I went, there was still a sense of normalcy here. So we worked and cranked on it. What's the best and worst U.S. state?
Best and worst U.S. state. Well, I can't honestly say I've been to all of them. So,
if you had to pick a state you were going to go live in, what would it be?
Based on what?
I would pick Colorado, and I wouldn't want to live in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me wants to say like really Northern California because it has the beach and the mountains.
Yeah.
And I have friends who lived up in like Grass Valley, and that was really beautiful. Part of me also likes, some of the New England type area, but I've never been there, so I don't really know. I think culture of a place definitely affects where I want to live and being with the people that you love. So I'll just say, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't want to call it a state the worst state.
Sadie wants to know, what's your favorite activity to do in the home? I know what it is.
For you or for me?
For you.
Let's see.
Your favorite activity?
My favorite activity? Gardening? Is that what you're
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, I was going to be like, is it drinking coffee or
100%. 100%. Gardening. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Dealing with plants, whether indoors or outdoors.
What's your favorite artistic outlet for both of us?
So I would say it's a hard tie for me between photography and gardening. Although I have dabbled in some watercolors, partly because my kids have been learning it, and so I'm trying to learn it a bit.
Yeah. But I'm not very artistic, so really music is my kind of, I don't paint or draw or anything like that. So
he is a wordsmith.
I don't know about that.
So he crafts messages.
Yeah, it's true.
Speaking.
Do either of us have a favorite coffee brand?
What, would we say Carabello right now?
Or? We're not, either of us. So what's your favorite coffee brand?
I'm accused of like not. Well, so I'm like kind of a coffee snob, but totally not, because it just depends on the day. And I don't think I make it as good as him. So I'll use like the nice coffee that we have, and it doesn't taste as good as when he makes it. So I don't know what my deal is, but
Carabello. But you also really love tea. In fact, if you guys ever come hang out in the evening at our house, you will often be offered tea because we love drinking tea together. Part of that's, I think, the European in us, where we love to drink tea. And so, in fact, our student that we called the other night, she made her own tea and drank tea while Tabitha was drinking tea because it was like how we always connect. So, favorite coffee drink, to follow up on that question?
I will probably always get like a cinnamon dolce latte at Starbucks. But I've also really enjoyed like lavender lattes, I guess. Lavender lattes at some of the nicer coffee shops that have.
What was the first one you said? Oh, sorry, I was
cinnamon
looking at
dolce latte.
I was gonna say also like the chai type drinks.
I do like chai lattes, although they're going down in my like favorites. I
really enjoy. That's what I was gonna say. Like
where it's espresso, with chai.
Yeah. I drink tea hot and cold. Usually sweet if I'm gonna drink it cold.
Yeah, I pretty much always sweeten. I mean, I'll sweeten my cold or hot tea.
But you don't normally just drink plain sweet tea. You really like the Arnold Palmer.
Yes.
Arnold Palmer.
Yes. When we make recipes for like homemade sweet tea, we do half the sugar of what most recipes do because it's like way too sweet.
So yeah, we have a big bin of tea. So please, once all this is over, come hang out later into the evening and we'll have tea together and talk. And it'll be sweet. Ephraim, you want my last giant gummy bear? I cannot promise to give that away yet. It will be given away at some point in time, but I can't give it to anybody quite yet. Let's see here. You like 5 o'clock coffee brand? Isn't it called 8 o'clock?
Yeah, there's a brand 8 o'clock.
Is there a 5 o'clock?
I once researched and they said they were the best like budget coffee brand.
If you're drinking it out of a Keurig, it doesn't deserve being called coffee.
That's true. The process does make a difference.
Sweet. Sorry, I was just looking at the comments. You guys are cracking me up. It's hard to keep up with them sometimes. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. I think this is fun. It's fun to do this together, and I hope it was a blessing for you guys. I know we'd much rather be having you here in our home and drinking tea or hanging out and playing board games. So those are some of the things we look forward to doing when this is all over. We'd love to have you guys hanging out in our home where we get to talk and eat and play and pray and all of those fun things. We're just in one of those seasons where we can't do that yet. So but looking forward to what God does once this is all finished. And grateful to be here. I miss you guys. I miss being with you regularly. And just looking forward to that day when this is all done and we get to see each other more regularly. Anything else you want to say?
If you really want us to do covers, we'll just keep trying.
Oh my gosh. Don't commit us to things.
If you pick a cover and we do terrible, we'll blame you. So there.
That's funny.
How's that go?
Yeah. So
sorry to end on
in light of that. All right. We love you guys. Hope this is fun. Or just a reminder, we don't have any youth stuff this coming Sunday night. Enjoy Easter with your family, and then we'll be back at it next week. So see y'all later.